Few sites in downtown Boulder are as iconic as the Boulder Theater, a building steeped in historic and artistic significance. It's located on a site that has served as a center for arts and culture for nearly 120 years. But the facade is in need of significant repair, and that is where Historic Boulder comes in. Historic Boulder was born from the battle to protect precious pieces of Boulder's past. In the 1960s and 70s, Boulder was growing fast. Buildings were being torn down with no thought of their historic value to the spirit of the town. In 1971, when 3 significant buildings were set to be demolished, a group of concerned citizens banded together to initiate the movement to protect historic places in town. Building a grassroots coalition, we were able to save the Union Pacific Train Depot and the Highland School in partnership with other organizations. The destruction of the Central School triggered a decade of efforts to create the first historic preservation codes in the city and initiate building landmarks and historic districts. To this day, our mission is to preserve buildings that have high-quality historic, cultural, environmental, and architectural lessons to pass on to future generations. We are a nonprofit organization made up of volunteers dedicated to preserving places from every era of Boulder that tell the story of the evolution of this town. Over the years, Historic Boulder has been directly and indirectly responsible for the preservation of more than 1,300 legacy buildings, structures that assert the unique and innovative spirit of our community. Our latest project is working with the owner of this Boulder Theater to save the building's stunning front facade.
The current site of the Boulder Theater has a rich history. The first building here was the current Opera House. Opening in 1906, it featured opera, musical productions, and silent films. In 1936, despite economic hard times, the owners decided to design and build an entertainment venue that would rival those of East Coast cities. With much anticipation, the theater held a grand opening in January 1936. 1,500 people attended during the day, and the governor, Edwin Johnson, presided at the evening gala. The local newspaper called the theater Boulder's Palace of Entertainment and reported that its shape was influenced by the modern lines of the Boulder County Courthouse, a nearby Art Deco style building built in 1933 after the original courthouse was destroyed by fire. Boulder Theater was designed by preeminent theater architect Robert Bowler of Kansas City. Bowler's firm designed nearly 100 classic theaters around the country during the first half of the 20th century. Boulder Theater is one of only a few built in the distinctive Art Deco style that still stand today. Over the following years, the theater screened popular films and hosted live shows of local interest, such as plays and talent contests. From the mid-1950s to the 1960s, Watts Hardy Dairy, a local company that delivered around town, teamed with the Boulder Theater on a wildly popular summer program for kids, who were admitted for free so long as they brought an empty Watts Hardy product, typically an empty milk or ice cream carton. Mary Johnson, in a 1990 Daily Camera article, recalled, "The lines wrapped around the corner and all the way to 15th Street. An adult could escort a child as far as the door, but that was it. No adults were allowed inside." With the arrival of multiplex cinemas in the 1970s, this created competition for film audiences. In 1979, the Mann Theater's owner put the Boulder Theater up for sale, with a covenant prohibiting first-run films. People thought the building was not viable for uses other than a movie theater, and the building was threatened with demolition.
Historic Boulder, with its mission of saving places that matter, put together an interim group of purchasers who got the building landmarked by the city. They also granted a facade conservation easement to Historic Boulder. These actions created protected legal covenants to safeguard the historic building. Historic Boulder itself then leased the building, held a grand reopening, and operated it as a theater, while they explored financial assistance options and other uses, and found a buyer who would renovate the interior and operate it as a multi-use cultural facility. In 1981, the local paper announced the beginning of a new era for the theater. Nevertheless, the building struggled under various ownerships and partnerships for a number of years, even with the dynamic mix of events occasionally held there. By June 1993, a Daily Camera headline read, "Financial Blues Playing at the Boulder Theater." The building was closed in 1994 for non-payment of taxes and was put up for sale. The current owner, Doug Green, purchased the theater in 1995 with a passion to see it survive as a place for the community to gather and a desire to keep it as a concert venue. He hired the current manager, Cheryl Ligori, in 1998, and the theater began to thrive once more. It has continued to be a beloved institution ever since, offering the best in national and local live music, film, and comedy, and drawing over 100,000 visitors a year.
At first glance, the theater today appears much as it did when it was built. Its stucco and multicolored terracotta tile facade features spectacular rising sun patterns characteristic of Art Deco motifs. But if you look closely, you'll see an extensive pattern of cracks that run through the wall's surface. A few years ago, Historic Boulder worked with the owner to hire a structural engineering firm to assess the problems and develop plans for rehabilitation. A thorough engineering investigation revealed that almost half of the exterior surface had been compromised by water leaks, primarily from deteriorating tile caps at the top of the front facade wall. While these parapet cap leaks have now been fixed, damage to the structure below remains. Without repairs, the front wall could eventually break off in pieces. Historic Boulder was recently awarded a grant from the State Historical Fund to pay for half the cost of the repairs. The other half is being paid for by a partnership of the building owner, the managers of the theater, and by Historic Boulder's fundraising. Once fundraising is complete, rehabilitation by engineering and historic preservation professionals will begin in spring of 2025. The Boulder Theater is one of only a handful of palaces remaining in the Rocky Mountain region and stands as one of the finest examples of Art Deco architecture in the state. With a varied and vital mix of uses in its prominent downtown location, it serves thousands of people of all ages and backgrounds. Its colorful, dramatic presence is an anchor to the success of the Pearl Street Mall. The Boulder you know and love didn't just happen. Historic Boulder has been working for over 50 years with people like you to safeguard heritage properties like the Boulder Theater. The values of historic preservation include keeping the spirit of Boulder alive to learn from the past, the economic benefits of historic tourism, showcasing the stories of the evolution of Boulder, including underrepresented minority groups, and recognizing that the greenest building is one that is already built. At a time when Boulder is experiencing unprecedented changes, safeguarding heritage properties is imperative to celebrate Boulder's historic legacy. There are still many important properties to protect. Historic Boulder invites you to join us in the mission to safeguard the Boulder that you love.